Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I will be reviewing the Salomon Assassin. If you're interested in this board or any other boards that I mention in this video, make sure you're going down in that description, clicking those affiliate links, and that way you don't have to be searching the internet to pick up this board or anything else for yourself. This board is equipped with Salomon's rock out camber profile, so what that means is you're going to have rocker on the nose and on the tail with a camber section pretty much right under the inserts, maybe a little bit outside of the inserts, and then right in between your feet it's actually going to be flat. So what that's going to do is that's going to give you all of the pop, drive, and power you're looking for, but it's going to make those turns a little bit easier to get in and out of, and it's also going to help with some float if you do happen to find that on this board. The Salomon Assassin is offered in a 150, a 153, a 156, a 159, a 162, a 165, a 158 wide, and a 163 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain where it was a cloudy day. The sun was trying to poke out as much as it could, but you'd only get it for about half a run or so. It pretty much felt like I was just chasing the sun all day because when it was shaded from those clouds, it was super firm. Like it would just change at the drop of a hat there, where you'd be riding in the sun, have it nice and soft, and then all of a sudden you hit those cloudy shaded zones and it would just turn pretty firm, pretty crusty, pretty bad honestly. But overall, it was still a good day, you know. As long as you chase the sun like I did, you're having a good day out there. And there was some fresh snow in the trees, but it was super compressed because we hadn't gotten it in a little bit. So whatever it was sitting in the sun for that week before, just kept compressing, really didn't want to stay in it that much. I used my Ride Fuse boots and my Jones Mercury FASE bindings. When we're talking overall flex on this board, it's coming in at about middle of the road there, but when you do flex into it, you will feel like it does want to flex in the middle of the board, just because you do have that flat section there. But then there's also a hinge point on the tail and the nose where that rocker meets the cambered section. So you'll notice that it wants to flex here, but it really wants to hold back on that rocker meeting the camber zone. And when we're talking torsional flex on this thing, it's pretty much right there with the overall flex of this board. You're not gonna be working too hard to foot steer this thing, which is great in my opinion, because I mean, for who this board is made for, you don't need anything crazy stiff or anything like that. And when we talk stability on this board, it is fairly stable. It's a mixture of damp and lively. So you will feel those icier spots that you're going over, but it's not gonna send all those vibrations up through your knees or through your feet or anything like that, where you know you're going over it, but you're not feeling all of those micro vibrations. So keep that in mind. It is a nice mixture of both, where honestly, if you had it even more damp, you might actually be hindering the performance of the board, just because it doesn't hold the best when you do get to those icier conditions. When you load this board up to ollie, you'll notice that hinge point back here, but it's really not that bad because when you do pop it, it has a nice organic pop to it. So you're not working too hard, but you're also not getting bucked around or anything like that. You could put in minimal effort and still get a nice return out of it. And it feels that way when you're going off of jumps as well. So when you're going off of jumps, if you're like me, I enjoy popping, and so does this board, where it just feels like it's in more control there, where you can let the lip do the work. It feels comfortable, but it just felt better when you were popping out of the jump. It also felt very stable as well. So you could track into the jump with really good speed and still stomp that landing and keep going into the next jump line. And I will say, this thing definitely handles the best on those medium-sized jumps. It'll handle those smaller ones no problem. I really wouldn't take it past that, just because if you land a little bit backseat, you might just kind of wash out on it. So just keep that in mind. Keep it to those medium-sized jumps, and this thing is going to be so much fun on that jump line. While I have you here, you might as well like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our scheduled programming. When I was buttering on this board, I noticed it felt like a standard snowboard. There really wasn't anything too crazy I had to like focus on, where I really had to throw a bunch of weight towards the tail or towards the nose. It didn't matter that much. I could really just put it right where this little black line ends, like pretty much shift my weight right there. It would meet that hinge point on the tail, and just kind of butter for me. Expect a little bit of a pop out on it, but really nothing too crazy, and it felt the same on the nose. Even though it is a directional twin, there isn't that much different to it, so it felt very similar. And when I was jibbing on this thing, just like buttering, it just felt like a standard snowboard. So expect to put in a little bit more work when you are tail pressing or nose pressing on a rail. But really, it wasn't anything crazy where I was like having to focus super hard and be like, okay, here we go, get in the proper form. Nothing like that. It was just pretty much that standard snowboard. And when I was sliding it sideways, it felt really good. It wasn't catchy or anything like that. It wasn't hooky. It just felt pretty good. So when you land on it, just go flat and you'll be totally fine. There's nothing for this board to really hang up on. As long as those edges are nice and smooth like I had them, you'll be all good to go. I think this board, or this version of this board, handles a lot better than the previous iteration of it, where it will carve, it'll hold all those edges that you're looking for, whether it be that short, medium, or long, doesn't matter, it's gonna do it. The one thing I will say that is still true to this one as it was to the last one, you're not gonna wanna be going full speed, large carves through those chundery, icier, beat up sections. I did find the folding point on this board and I was cruising real fast. Not even cruising, just hauling ass at that point. Tried to make a pretty much medium-sized carve, but I was coming in way too hot in less than ideal conditions. The nose folded on me. I went down to my ass, slid halfway down the run, got back up. And that was really the only problem I had. And really what it was I was just cruising on some nice softer stuff in that sun, hit a shaded spot, and just lost it. I don't think you guys will have that problem, especially if you know the conditions aren't gonna be as ideal as you'd like. You just know to pump the brakes a little bit and you'll be all good to go. And that was literally the only problem I had with it. Otherwise, those short carves, those medium carves, it'll hit them all, no problems, where it was nice and comfortable, super easy to get edge to edge, so it's not really that board that's gonna be a bear to get over from toe to heel or heel to toe. It doesn't really matter there. And yes, it will Euro carve. Just keep it on a little bit smoother run where you don't have just straight ice, and it'll be totally fine there. So just keep that in mind, but overall, it is a solid carving board where you don't really have to work too hard, but if you do work too hard, you might end up folding it. Rider in mind. This board is made for that intermediate to advanced rider that's just looking for something to cruise on. They want to be able to go to every part of the mountain, but don't necessarily have to be charging to get there every single time. They might want something to just have a little bit of fun on, not really push the limits too hard, but if they want to, they can definitely do that on this board. If you're looking for another way to get involved in the Angry Snowboarder community, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. What is it, you might ask? Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I like this board. It didn't really like wow me like crazy, but it just felt like a standard snowboard that I was super familiar with, just like hopping on it the first time. It didn't matter. I knew that this thing was gonna be able to turn, pop, butter, do everything really. And it does it all well. It doesn't do it all great, but honestly, this board is great for that weekend warrior where they're driving up to the mountains. They're just driving to their resort every weekend, just looking to have some fun out there and not really having to push the limits too much or have to worry about, hey, I'm a little hungover today, I'm not gonna be able to ride my best, this board's gonna kick my ass. Nothing like that. This thing will handle any conditions, but you know, it's just not gonna be the highest level board out there, but that's not who it's made for. This thing is made for that intermediate rider that, just like I stated before, they're just looking to go out, have some fun, and they don't need the dampest board or the most lively. They're just looking for something for a nice mixture out there. Comparable boards, the Capita Mercury, the Ride Shadowban, and the K2 Manifest. Recommended bindings, the Salomon Hologram, the Jones Mercury FASE, and the Ride Drone. As always guys, I've been your host TC, and this has been my review of the Salomon Assassin. If you're just not totally sold on this board yet, why don't you go check out one of the videos for the comparable boards, and that way you know exactly what you're getting.